Once again, good morning and welcome back. It's still DAYBREAK Africa reaching here from our studios in Ondo City. I remain Ezekiel. Ogar, this one on illicit drug practices in Nigeria, it causes effects on the society. With us in the house, the public affair analyst person of Marvey, Neche. Welcome on DAYBREAK Africa.
Hi, good morning.
A very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Now, in all honesty, when it comes to the challenge of drug abuse, you have just so much to talk about. But the question is, how bad is drug abuse or illicit drug use in Nigeria?
It is that bad. When I say it is that bad, I think according to Analyst, a poll found out that 9 out of 10 youths under the age of 30 are actually into it currently. So that's how bad it is. We are actually sitting on a keg of gunpowder currently, and it's looking as if there is no solution because everyone wants to do it. It's as if it's the what's it called?
The trend of the day.
The trend of the day. It's been painted as one of the coolest things in the society, and that's where the problem is currently. And another thing is we find out that it's not as if the government are not doing enough, but are not doing something, but they are not doing enough in the sense that what's it called? It's being treated not only as a criminal offense, where you see drug addicts being treated as criminals instead of sick people. If you say they are criminals, then that way you unleash the hand of punishment towards them. But when you calm down a bit and you find out that they are sick, maybe this time around you can empathize with them. You can find a solution to help them curb this addiction. That's it.
Now, let's go back a bit. I know Ezekiel went straight with knowing, okay, how bad is the situation in Nigeria as it is now. I don't just want to believe that it's only in Nigeria. It's prevalent almost everywhere in the world. Now, if you're looking at it, I want to first know, I think we need to start from the beginning. Who is a drug abuser? And how is a drug being abused? Because someone will tell me, I know the use of paracetamol. When I'm feeling a slight headache, I think I can go on it and be fine. So when is the term drug abuse?
Who is a drug abuser? Exactly. When someone hears who is a drug abuser, all that comes to their mind is maybe one junkie on the street. Taking what's it called, cannabis, or taking all this strong illicit drug, tramadol and all that. But what they don't understand is, even you sitting at home taking paracetamol, as popping it as candy, you're also a drug abuser. I had a friend, a female friend, who what's it called, who suffers from serious menstrual cramps. So she didn't notice. She got hooked to painkillers. She keeps taking them, just keep popping them, and you are abusing these drugs. So a drug abuser is someone that simply takes drugs without doctor's prescription. That's someone you abuse this drug, you take them without doctor's prescription. They tell you, okay, take 2 tablets per day, you swallow 4. These 2 no go work. They can't headache where they worry me now. I need like 4 to use.
Like if you do me well.
Swallow 4, pop. That's a drug abuser. So it's not someone that's very far. They close. That's the person.
I tend to wonder how we manage to come to the point where the use of an illicit drug is very common. I mean, in a naturally advanced situation, you just can't, just go across the counter and then order for things as tramadol or, any of these drugs. So where did we miss it as a nation or as a people? At what point did we miss it? Or is it more like it has been a challenge that has been over time, and it's more like the situation just got doubled in this present era?
I believe that it just got doubled because it has been prevalent per se. And I think where we miss it is, I'll say, let us go back to family values, the breakdown of family value, the economic situation in Nigeria. And now, what do we call the morale of the nation is down. Not just the nation as humans as a whole, but globally, everybody there is this intake that want to make money by all means at all costs. So, a pharmaceutical store no really care. You see a kid of less than 15 coming to tell you, okay, I want to buy tramadol. You don't ask no, you are illegitimate, what's it called, eligible to get this kind of drug. You just sell and that's okay, now my uncle sent me, you sell to the kid. How are you sure that someone sent him that you're selling to the kid? You see someone coming out to take strong drugs and they'll be like, you don't ask them, okay, where is your doctor's prescription? Everybody just wants to make money. Oh, you deal with money, okay, fine, take. So that's where we had a problem. I think I push it down to, but not only to capitalism, this mindset of, okay, we won't make money by all means, and that's where we started failing it.
All right, now I think I'm going to go in a different direction of the psychological part of it.
Okay.
For every drug, there is effectiveness.
Yes.
And when it's being used, overused, and not with doctor's prescription, we term it to be drug abuse.
Yes.
Now, I want to understand the level of psychological importance in this field, especially when most people feel like I need to take more.
Okay.
Now, we understand that at the end of the day, it's not being taken in the right way. The psychological part of it. Now, also as a nation, we've lost it so many ways, as you said, but you also linked it down to family value and some other things that we are supposed to have in us that we do not have. But of course, we also have enforcement agencies, talking about NAFDAC, the NDLEA, all this. And at the end of the day, we still see that it's very easy, accessible for anybody to just get it over the counter.
Okay.
Now, talking about all this, putting all this together in one whole, where do you think is really wrong with Nigeria? What do you think is wrong with every individual? Especially, most people will say it's greed, but outside greed, I want to understand that people will say you are supposed to be a professional for you to be able to handle a chemist store. You're supposed to be a professional in that field. But at the end of the day, we are not seeing professionalism. What's really happening?
What's really happening? As I said before, what's really happening this time around? It's not becoming something where it seems we have lost the approach towards it. We don't know, okay, how are we going to handle this thing? And it's simple. I don't want to say if I usually make use of my native powers to talk this kind of stuff. They say fish on rotina from head, you go start from first. So I believe that the government is mainly at fault here. Take for instance 2021 to 2022, there were the statistics proved NDLEA released a statistics finding out that okay, 18,000 plus they made 18,000 plus arrests for people that illicit drug traffickers into the country. And when they made this arrest, these are just people that were found on the airports, seaports, and maybe highway. Nobody talks about the undermanned and very low what's it called, the undermanned land borders that are porous everywhere. And we also found out that okay, most of these people that were arrested are just the little fish, those ones that couldn't graze the palm of the big men on top there. So those are the people that were arrested. So I believe that it is our government that are getting it wrong. And how are they getting it wrong? One major way is you find out that okay, some of these agencies are underfunded. And when they are underfunded, you know what happens when an agency is underfunded, they try to find a way to meet up. And when you're trying to find a way to meet up, you try to cut corners. And when you try to cut corners, before you know, you find a way to say, okay, someone will be like, okay, we are looking for this, and they give you this, and you let them pass. They take the other way. So I believe the government is actually the one failing majorly there. When they're failing majorly, then followed by the family. The family are also not inculcating values into children's life and trying to let them know that some of these drugs we are talking about, they are harmful to you. And lack of education, education in the sense of sensitization, in the sense where no one is putting in effort to sensitize these people that okay, these drugs are bad, do not take these drugs, do not do this. And these are some of the problems, that these are the major problems. And where, what's it called now, these people have this issue, and no one is there to channel them, that so I mean to put them in the right channel, that this thing is wrong. Then there is a problem. But you can't pinpoint that okay, this is where it's coming in from, it's like a conglomerate. They are different, but if they could join hands together, we can find a solution to this stuff.
You spoke a little as to sensitization, which I think to some extent Nigerians have been well when it comes to sensitization, both coming from the government and private individuals. And then the issue of funding. I mean, when it comes to security personnel funding, I mean, for the last budgets, you know, we have seen where security personnel have been funded just fine, and particularly you made mention of NDLE, and they seem not to really come out to really voice any incapacity when it comes to funding. So don't you think there's probably other issues to actually look out for, and not exactly sensitization and necessarily funding?
I don't believe that there are no other issues not to look out for, but I still feel these are the prevalent ones. They may not come out and tell you, okay, this fund might not be the issue. Okay, let's take for instance sensitization we're talking about. This sensitization, are we being sensitized on the right way? Sometimes they say, okay, education is not the problem, but rightful education. There were times where we used to have this mindset that someone that takes some cannabis will run mad immediately. Okay, imagine if someone had that mindset, okay, simply because of what he had heard, and one day by chance he took it and found that I never go mad. What will happen? He keeps going, he keeps taking it. So rightful sensitization, and that's what I feel, that okay, this is where we have that problem.
Now, you said something that really interested me when we started the discussion.
Yeah.
You said the situation when the people being caught, the drug abusers, are being treated as criminals.
Yeah.
Now, this begs on the question of therapy, where most of them feel like, okay, from what you said, we need them to really undergo therapy and put them in the right state of mind for them to understand this, and also getting them this far of the right sensitization, which you made mention just now. Now, what is the part of Nigeria as a nation, as our government doing well? Are they doing well in the part of sensitization, that is proper sensitization, and also putting these people in the right place of therapy? But also looking at it, how are you going to justify that, okay, if every drug abuser is being treated as sick people, don't you feel we are going to have more people putting their legs into this problem and feel like, okay, after all, if I'm being caught tomorrow, I'm just going to be treated as a sick person?
No, I don't think so. And the reason I don't think so is this: nobody wants to be sick. And if they found out that, okay, this is an issue. I'm talking about drug abusers because sometimes when people say treat drug abusers as sick people, they tend to include the drug traffickers. Drug traffickers are not sick. Those ones are criminals. The drug abusers are those kids at home, those ones on the street who are who are at risk of being drug addicts. These are the people that are sick. When they become addicted, I say they are sick.
But sorry to cut you, if we are going to look at it this way,
okay,
let's say we want to understand the children that are not up to 18 years of age.
Okay,
we'll call them kids.
Yes.
Now, for every place that there is a law, when you violate it, there's supposed to be a punishment for it.
Yeah.
Now, you being an adult, you understand that this kind of substance is not legal. It is bad. Okay. But you still went over the counter to purchase it, to use.
Okay.
Now, if I'm going to go by your word, this kind of person gets apprehended, and we are going to treat that person as a sick person. When you deliberately did it, you made the purchase yourself. Despite knowing that this is illicit, this is not right, you understand the efficacy of what it can bring to you, but you still went ahead to buy it. So if I'm going to treat this person as a sick person, definitely I might not opening more doors for people to say, okay, come in, you can do it, whatever it is, you are going to be treated as a sick person. The only person that is a criminal here are the drug barons.
Okay, well, let us go this way. If those drugs are not being pushed into the country, do you think someone will go there and get it? No. So how will I put it now? The availability of this temptation is where the issue is. If these drugs are not being pushed, no one will go there and go get it. So let us try now coming back, okay, cut off the source of those drugs. And that's where you now put stringent rules on how to deal with drug traffickers, where where it's not to talk on the big men you catch or the big men you apprehend, you tend to let go, because these are the people that are actually bringing it into the country. You tend to let them go, then you go about picking their little errand boys, and you say you're fighting it. You're not fighting it. You're just making a show of yourself there. That's just it.
When it comes, you made mention of stringent rule, and I tend to wonder, can we ever come to that point where we have imposed stringent rules? Because when it comes to the issue of drug sales and drug abuse, you know, every woman carrying a basket on her head has certain elements of drugs that are not really NAFDAC registered, if you get what I mean. So in the place as in Nigeria, can we ever come to the point where we could have these regulations really put in place?
Yeah. Where this thing happens now is this collaboration and sharing of intel. You don't leave this stuff, you don't leave the fight against drug abuse alone to the authorities. This is where organizations, NGOs comes in. This is where even religious organization comes in. This is where, as I mentioned, family comes in. Everybody has to put in effort. It's a collective effort. It's not just a one agency fight. No. Everybody has to put in effort. Okay, this one woman you are talking about that carrying a basket that has an illicit drug in it. That one person might be going to either a church or a mosque, or that one person might belong to a community. Now imagine if the message gets to that community or the religious organization, and they start pushing it that, okay, this thing we are doing, it is harmful not just to you but to the future generation and to the economy of the nation. Before you know, I think when you talk to the morale of the people, you'll find a way, they will find a way to abstain from it. And one thing we haven't mentioned mostly here that we have tried to, not that we are avoiding, is the economic adversity in the nation. Like the economy is messed up to a point where the youths now have a lot of time in their hand, and what they say, as the saying goes, what was it called? An idle mind is a devil's workshop. And nature, how do I put it now? Nature does not like vacuum. So where there is vacuum,
it has to be filled.
It has to be filled. So if someone is less busy, it has nothing to do. You wake up in the morning, there is nothing to do till 24 hours. You look for a way to pass time, and that's where.
You know, Marvey, you claim drug abusers are all sick people. Michael believes drug abusers are probably criminals. Did I get that right, Michael? They
are criminals in the sense that when they are above the age of acquiring it, and they are doing it deliberately.
Now, there's this generalization and that the state's drug abusers are always criminals, because they believe there's always this tendency, even if probably you were not a criminal at the time you started abusing drug, there's always this tendency you will end up being one. How true is this concept?
It's almost true. Or should I say it's close to the truth? Because
that's what I agree to what Michael said.
Of course, if you look at the law of hypersensitivity.
Exactly. It's almost true. It's close to the truth. If you look at hypersensitivity, these drugs, they mess with your mind and everything. So when something messes with your mind, what happens? Are you in the right state of mind to do those kind of things again?
So you say they are sick criminals.
Is that okay? Thank you so much. Is that not to say no? There are sick people who are engaging in criminal activities.
So in this case, they are sick at the same time criminals.
Engaging in criminal activities.
Okay, now I want to get this. I'm going to drop an analogy, and I'm very sure you're going to relate to it. Okay. Now let's see that the anger of the situation of you getting angry over a situation is there. Is a temptation for you to say, okay, I want to pick up my gun, or I want to pick up a blunt object to kill someone.
A sharp object.
A sharp object to kill someone. But you feel like, okay, I need to control myself. I'm not going to do this. the level of discipline comes in.
Okay.
But that does not mean the temptation was never there.
Okay.
Now, relating it back to drug abusers, treating them as sick people, indulging in criminal activities. Now, I'm very sure that law will try to distinguish and look into things technically.
Okay.
Now, if you're going to be treating them as sick people, indulging in criminal activities, somebody under the influence of alcohol or drug carrying out a murder, is that person a murderer or not?
Of course, he's a murderer.
So what are we saying? Definitely they are criminals.
They're sick.
Sick criminals.
All right, now away from that, we are going to look at it from another different aspect. If you see drug abuse is very prevalent with the youth, students, very high amounts of them indulge in this.
Yeah.
Now, what can you say is the cause of this? You said something about the economic situation of Nigeria, but if I'm going to get it right, if the economic situation of Nigeria was the problem from the onset, talking about Haido Hearn being the devil's workshop and whatever it is, what about the people that brings it into the country? The availability of them getting the amount of money to purchase this. So if the economy is that bad, where are they getting the fund from to purchase this?
And there is no way an economy will be bad where people will still have money to engage in illicit activity. Take Mexico, for instance. Take what was it called, Colombia, for instance. These people, their economy was and is still very bad. But yeah, there are still people making millions from importing drugs. So the importers, they will always look for money to do those kind of things. But they will borrow, because another thing that makes people engage in this drug trafficking is the turnout, the profit turnout. It's massive. So if a Mimo sell our papa land, get this drug first, because they know if I should sell this land, get this thing.
Then how does it boil down to a very poor economy?
It boils down to a very poor economy in the sense that I'm talking about the abusers. That's where the poor economy hit them. But to succeed in crime, no matter how poor the economy is,
that's the explanation I do want. I want to understand how the poor economy hits the abusers.
Hit the abusers, as I said, they are high though. They don't know what they won't do again. They will find a way to make time fly. And that's where they get that drop.
Indeed, making time fly. Let's talk about rehab centers and facilities. Do we really have government-owned rehab centers and facilities, and how equipped are the centers? How easily accessible are these centers?
How easily accessible are those centers? I don't think they are easily accessible. I don't say this to talk down on anybody or talk down on the government of the day, but if you look around, the amount of mentally unstable people on the streets every day, it gives you it gives you your answer. These things are not accessible. If they are accessible, a lot of these mentally unstable people on the street wouldn't be on the streets, roaming the street. They will be somewhere getting rehabilitated. So it is close to non-existent. I doubt if I've seen, except in my time in Abuja, I think I knew of one in Buhari, I believe so. But it's very rare. It's very rare. And sometimes when you go to this place, they are understaffed and under-equipped. So yeah, it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing.
And what about local centers, around streets and areas? You will find certain local rehab centers. Just how advisable are these centers?
Are there local rehab centers?
Yeah, you could find one or two, managed by one or two person, really local.
Managed by one or two person.
Yes,
and when you go deep inside, you find out that that person is actually using it as a means of siphoning funds. And I say this from someone from the north. I know of an NGO that was caught simply because what they usually do is say, okay, we are going to rehabilitate these people. You take a picture, send it out to friends and donors abroad that say, okay, we are working on rehabilitating those people, which is just a front. It's just a front to say, okay, when they send the money, nothing concerns them. You push back those people to the streets. When you need money again, you go back and gather them and say, okay, we are rehabilitating those people. Please donate. Please donate. So a lot of those things, I'm not saying they are not good ones, but I'm talking about a lot of them are actually using it to push and get fun for themselves.
Now, let's look at data system. You spoke about Colombia. We have drug abuses issues in almost everywhere in the world, even countries with sophisticated data system.
Yes.
Now, if you agree with me, Nigeria as a nation has been struggling with data collections.
Exactly.
And that has really been an issue.
Exactly.
How do we fix this, especially if we want to go from the top, knowing how much grams of what you've purchased, what you're supposed to be eligible to take? You are not going to be sold more than what you're supposed to take. Just like the way they do it in things, alcohol, your alcohol intake, what you're supposed to take, the data system. How are we supposed to go about all this with a very, let me just say, if I may use the word, poor data system in the country?
Well, it's poor data system. You don't have to sugarcoat it. It's way below abysmal. And then, how are we going to fix it? The government have to sit up. That's the truth. What should I call them? It's not between me and you to start working here to fix it. No. The government has to sit up. Let the government put in effort in data collection first. And let us know, okay, how many are we in this country, first of all? If you ask this question now, someone will say 150 million, another person will say 200 million. There is no specific data to find out even the amount of people staying in this nation. And yet we want to find out, okay, who is who. Yeah, it's a far cry from being accurate. It's just messed up, to say the truth. And we can't have this thing done if our government don't sit up. So the ball, it falls on the government.
Now, it's easy to make mention of government in every situation. As one of the causes of use of a drug, you made mention of Nigerians' economy, which boils down to actually blaming the government for people's irresponsibility, people's bad decision, people's, should I say, a form of laziness, because it's easy to just weigh everything on the government, state government, the federal government, which are really far of you. And yet, I tend to really wonder how best could I accuse this administration or the seated governor or the seated president and his cabinet for a bad decision I have chosen to make. I mean, yes, things may not be exactly going as planned, but we are a people of over 200 million. And yes, I know if you actually put up yourself to work and get work, at least for a day you could get something. Most definitely, you got to put yourself to work and really see something out of it, no matter how small it may seem. And if you have just enough 200 naira or 500 naira to access whatever job, shouldn't that be okay for you to actually get a fee?
All in the name of I want to get high.
So what's the point of really putting it in the hands of the government for our poor responsibility, or should I say irresponsibility?
There is this saying that the people are the reflection of the government. If the government is not working properly, the people will always be messed up. As you say, 200 naira to get high. Take for instance someone that earns minimum wage, which is actually 30,000 naira. If I earn minimum wage, how much is a bag of rice today? How much is a bag of beans? We're not going to talk about light. We won't talk about water. How much is a bag of
water? Because things are hard, the next option is to get the next cheapest drug.
Everybody,
and then they'll render you insane, and you feel, and at the end is the economy that was the cause.
At first, to give you this illusory comfort you're striving for, because people, they fight invisible battle where like person they overthink and all those stuff, and they find way to just take a minute break out of this thing. And these drugs just give them a minute break. That break, what they look for?
That might end up breaking them.
That end up breaking them before they become dependent on those stuff. They end up dependent. They can't do without it. They have to get hooked to it, because every day your problem, once you take the drugs, your problem will they wait for you. But I give you that break. After I finish, when you wake up, the problem is still there. So what do you want to do? You still want to run away from the problem. And the cycle continues. But another thing we are not talking about here is the mass media and entertainment industry. These people have made it look like, okay, this thing is the norm. Yeah, it's okay to do this thing, where they are now beautifying drug intake. Yeah, if you take most of the music being consumed in this country now, for instance, you see they beautify these vices of drug intake. You watch music videos these days, you see the way our artists they are popping it on stage. On screen and all. Then okay, you go for social gatherings, social events. The first question where they will ask you these days is, see Shade there? Like, I will go smoke there. All those stuff. The beautification of drug intake is also a problem that we are not talking about yet. That is now causing that's causing it's now a source of concern to us. That okay, we should look into this thing too. And as I say so, it's not as if I push the whole blame on the government. I say the bulk of the blame lies on the government, because if they are doing the right thing, some of these videos which we play in our media shouldn't be played there.
Okay, now before we go to more blames and who is to be blamed or not, now we are going to be looking at the effects.
Okay.
Now, as a nation, we have to look at the effect, because if
Sure.
this is really prevalent on our youth,
Yeah.
the youth are supposed to be the future of leaders of tomorrow.
Yeah.
Now, this is causing the productivity level in them, effective productivity in them, to be in a very low manner.
Very low.
So what is the effect of this drug abuse on the nation's economy, on the youth productivity, and how the government can improve it?
Okay. The effect of drug abuse on the nation currently is enormous, in the sense that okay, children no longer want to stay in school. Everybody just want to do something to fly time. No, the prevalence of crime, because when you are high on these drugs, there are take for instance what they call meth, we call it ice currently, and it's prevailing. It's ravaging the youth and all. It tells you, okay, do this. You have this schizophrenic approach towards life. You just hear voices to do things, and you start messing with stuff up. So crime actually go there, and the health hazard it causes also. We're talking about people that are way into drugs. Before you know, you see the high rise of kidney failure, you see the high rise of liver problem and other drug related diseases. And when they do all those things, what actually pushed them towards it is still waiting for them, which is actually the economic downturn of the nation. Before you know, they can't even get the money to afford treatment for the sicknesses that these drugs have caused them. And in a nutshell, it boils down to death. So we might start seeing high rates of drug related deaths coming up soon. And how can it be helped? As I said before, the government need to sit up, then every other organization need to put hands together. The family need to start talking to their children that okay, please, things are bad, we know things are bad, but you just have to find a way to keep pushing through. The religious organization need to start talking against it, and also need to start pushing the government to say, okay, do something right about this.
Okay. Now, if we are still going to go back to law enforcement agencies in charge of this, I want to believe that for every whatever it is, let me say food and drink, drugs and the rest, NAFDAC, they are there. We have the NDLEA also doing their own part. But as it is, someone said for every 12, there is a Judas. Now, if you are going to advise the government and these law enforcement agencies in charge of these aspects of our nation, of whatever is happening in the area of drugs, what is going to be your advice, especially fishing out the bad eggs that are causing this problem, especially down to the youth and everybody not feeling secure in their environment?
If I'm going to advise the government, it's simple. Engage the youth. Engage the youth. Engage people. The youth, we have so much time on our hand these days. Time plenty, and this time is not something we are voluntarily wanted. And I say there is nothing out there. Fix the nation, and we know when you fix the nation, before you know, people start deviating from these criminal activities, from this prevalent drug use, to start doing something productive. Because when they don't see anything to do, they look for something, and when they create something and they find out, okay, this thing is just giving them a temporary relief, they keep going towards it. That's just it.
You mentioned using a religious group, using fellow youths as means to actually limit this consumption of this drug. But is that really an answer to it? Because at the easy rate at which this drug tends to be distributed is quite alarming, and how cheap it turns out to be. And once upon a time, you made mention of meth. You know, I think some time ago, meth was like, what, 5,000 every pill or so, but right now, I mean, 1,000 or 2,000 could really get it for you. So I tend to wonder how can we make it not cheap, you know, and limit this easy flow in society.
That's where I say cut the source where it's coming from. Our land border is very porous.
You know, you can't really just cut the entire land borders and
I'm not saying shut it down. Man, it's properly. When during the last administration, when they said, okay, the land borders were closed, was it closed? It was only closed on the south. Go to the north, it was very open. I mean, I'm talking about there was a place in Bruno where you see someone's kitchen. His sitting room is in Nigeria, his kitchen is actually in Chad. So you see how close it is. You say this one will just wake up one morning and say he's going to the jail to meet his brother. These places are just way porous, and the way things are flowing in from those places and and statistics found out that, okay, this drugs problem is actually higher in the north than in the south. How is that possible? Because that place is porous. So if our government can cut off the sources where these things are coming from and be honest with themselves. I'm not trying to point out to anybody, but let the government be honest. The rate at which these so-called big men are escaping justice, before you know, now they'll wake up and say, okay, we caught 10 people, 10 drug traffickers. And when you look at those drug traffickers, they are mostly the people that are staying on the streets. Who gave them that drug? We don't talk about the Ogar office that made calls all the way from China, because where they produce especially beds now, where the raw material comes from is mostly China. You know, look at all those people that say they are exporters and importers. What are you importing? Most of them are actually importing illicit drugs and all. So how about you go after those people first? Then before you know, you start seeing changes.
Okay, now I want to look at it from a different perspective. You made mention of Neche, looking at tramadol and all these things. Most of those things, they do have their positive side of what they're supposed to be used for when they are being used in the right proportion and in the right manner. But of course, at the end of the day, coming down the line here, it's being bastardized. The main reason why it's being produced are not being used for it. And we get them saying, okay, it's drug abuse, people are running out. They usually use one saying on colos and the rest. All those things happen. We see them on social media. Of course, you made a very valid point saying the social media and the superstars, so-called superstars, are making it look fancy, beautiful, and it's a good thing to do. Now, if we are going to do all this, you are going to put a lot of regulatory bodies, you are going to put a lot of regulations on all these things. Now, looking at our constitution, rights to do this, rights to do that. Do you think it's really possible?
Is it? It is. But we are not going to say how to eliminate this thing and eliminate it permanently. There is no vice that can be eliminated permanently. There is no vice that can be eliminated permanently. What can be done is to reduce it. How to reduce it? To say drugs will be eliminated permanently, now we are actually dreaming if you say that. Or we can reduce it
to the barest minimum.
To a barest minimum. So the right to do, you're saying the right of individual to do this. And of course, what happens when your right is trampling on other people's rights? Have you thought about it that way? And talk to the morale of the people in charge. Talk to the morale of the people involved in this thing. and see a way to curb it, to reduce it to the barest minimum.
All right, thank you. We are really out of time, but just in 30 seconds, I want you to give an advice to Nigerian youth seeing you on the television screen concerning drug abuse and how they are supposed to go about their daily life without indulging in such manners destroying the society.
All right. It's very hard for us now as a nation, Nigerian youth. I will tell you the truth. Find something else to do to alleviate this pain. Drug no go help you. That's just it. No matter how you want to do it, you say, okay, they help me forget my problem. You forget your problem, finish. The problem no leave you. It's still there, they wait for you. So, will you forget forever? You will come back to it. So why not find a way to keep pushing through? I know say it's hard, but find a way to keep pushing through. And you see all those things that you think they are glamorous, they are not as glamorous as you think. Even those big celebrities, they are fighting it and all. There are some of them are actually into the strong addiction and all, and they are finding a way to step back.
Thank you very much for coming on the program.
You're
Really do
welcome.
appreciate your presence.
Thank you so much.
All right, viewer, I'm very sure you've learned from what our guest has said on drug abuse, illicit drug practices. Is not right for us as Nigerian youth, as adult, as whatever you might be. It is a very wrong thing to do. Be whoever you want to be, but run away from evil vices. As you know, whatever problem you think this is going to take you away from remains. So face the problem squarely and let's believe that everything will be fine. Nigeria is a great nation, which we always believe, and we are going to be where we are supposed to be as giant of Africa. We shouldn't let our problems to weigh us down. From us, I will be saying goodbye on Daybreak Africa. I remain Michael Obagiri.
And I remain Ezekiel Ogar.
Thank you.